Hi guys, in this video we are going to talk about how to develop plugin packages in Flutter. If you want to develop a package that has a call to platform specific APIs, then you need to build a package called plugin package. So package can be built with a combination of Flutter and the native platform code. For example, Swift and Objective C for iOS and Kotlin or Java for Android. By default, when you create a package, you get Swift for iOS and Kotlin for Android support, but you can change it to make it work for Java as well as Objective C also using command line tools. So let's start. This particular plugins are being developed when you have to have a platform call and you find that there is no equivalent API available in the Flutter SDK. So in that case, you would be doing this kind of implementation. So you can make your own calls to the platform specific code and get the desired functionality. Okay. So step one, to create a package. To create a package, you need to run this flutter create command, and you will be giving an organization name, usually a reverse domain name, and you specify the template as a plugin, and you give the name of the plugin. So let's start with that. Let me copy this code. I have created a new folder called my new plugin, and I'm going to use the flutter create command. I just modified the command to have the right organization name, and the plugin name I gave it as greetings. So just for simplicity, I am not directly going to use any platform APIs. I just show you how to make calls to the platform APIs or some simple functions that we are going to call. So what we are going to do here is using this greetings package. When you start the application will greet you just like that. So let's hit the enter button. So it's going to the project. Okay, now the flutter create command has finished. Now we have the project for plugin has been created. Let's open the project in Android Studio. I have opened that already. So you need to go to the folder and then open an existing project. So I have the greetings plugin project here. In this you can see you have an Android folder where you have the Android specific code, iOS where you have the iOS, and there is an example project where in which you will showcase like how to use this plugin code. And then the lib folder. In the lib folder you will have a one file where you put the library or the plugin specific code which you are going to write, and usually the name of this file is going to be the name of the plugin that you gave. So we gave the name as greetings, so it will be greetings. Okay, before you make any code changes, let's run the example folder in both iOS and Android to make sure the project is properly set up. So that's the first step, don't skip that. So I have initialized both my simulators, Android and iOS. Next step is to open up the example project in a separate instance. So go to file, open, select example, open, new window. So now you have the example project loaded by itself. Let's run it. Let's try it on Android first. Okay, you can see that the project now build and run successfully. It shows running on Android 8.1.0. Now let's do the same for iOS. Okay, so in iOS also it runs successfully, like it shows running on iOS 13.2. We will see from where these values are coming. So make sure you build the example for build and run the example for both iOS and Android devices before you start doing any code changes. Okay, so let's stop. Let's have a quick look at the project. So let's go back to the plugins project. So in the plugins project, go to greetings.dart. You can see few things. First step is method channel, and we set the method channel name as greetings. So this is the name which is used to connect between the platform. And if you go to iOS classes, you have a Swift greetings plugin.swift. So if you open up, you can see Flutter method channel name greetings. So if you want to change your channel name to something else, you can do it in these places. And for Android, you need to search for KT, then you can find it here. So here also you can see method registering greetings. So if you want to change the name, you have to change at three places. One is your main plugin file, then for Swift, and then for Android. Okay, so if you want to change. Now let's look at the code again. So by default there is one method implemented for you called platform version. So what this function does is it goes to the platform channel and fetches the current platform version. Like for Android we have seen 8.1 and iOS we have seen iOS 13.2. So these values are being fetched from the platform through this function. What we are going to do is we are going to write a couple more functions to this one and try to use that. Okay, I just wrote a new method over here called get default greeting, and I gave a channel method name as get default greeting. What my intention is that when you call this function, you will get a default greeting message from the platform. So these kind of things are not really necessary. This is just to illustrate, to show you how you can do this. Like of course you have these kind of simple things available in Flutter itself. So this platform channel plugins are not really intended to do this kind of things. It's intended to do like core platform specific things, like if you want to get things which are not available already in Flutter. But for simplicity I'm showing this, so you can enhance this to whatever way you want. So here my expectation is I would be receiving a string value after a Flutter class calls it. Now where do you use this get default string? Where do you implement? Okay, let's first implement it for iOS. Go to Swift greetings plugin swift. So here you can see this is a Swift class. So here you have the method channel registration, and you can see a handle method. So this is the place where you need to handle your function calls, and it's always better to open it in the default editor. Like for Swift it's going to be Xcode, so just click this button, open iOS module in Xcode. So now you have the project open. Now in order to find this file, let's copy the name of the file and paste it over here. This is the easiest way, otherwise you can see it's all deep inside. Okay, so this is how our Swift file looks like. Let's add support for the remaining functions that we have added. And yeah, and as of now you can see there is only one results being sent. This is where you see the iOS version. So you will be sending an iOS and the current version of the device. So you can see it uses the platform APIs here. So this is where you require plugins. So if you want to use any native uh, APIs which are not yet available in Flutter SDK. Okay, the handle method takes in a parameter called call, and call has a property called method through which you can validate the method name that which is being passed. So here you can see get platform version. If the method name is get platform version, it will return you the platform version, and this is our new method name that which we have added. So get default greeting, then we return welcome user. So this can be something else. It can be something like maybe a list, maybe an array of something, or dictionary. So you can pass any value, not any value but some supported value. But right now we'll be passing string, and these are the supported values between iOS, Android and Dart. So you can see for list you need to use array. Custom objects are not, unfortunately, not supported. And if you are using dictionary, it will be a map in the Flutter environment. So if you want to return an object, convert it into a dictionary with key value pairs of the property and then return it back. Okay, so be aware, you have to use this list for all return values. So here you will be returning simple text. So that's all. So we have made the implementation for iOS. Let's do the same for Android. So go back to the plugin project, open up the greetings plugin, and here also the same thing. Click this to open the Android component in its own context. So click that. So you can see some graded builds running. Okay, here also you can see a function called on method call, and with the same kind of argument call, and call has a property called method. You can check the method name here. So I have added an else condition which checks for get default greeting, and on result.success we give the response as welcome user. So now we have implemented the get default greeting for both iOS and Android, and you can see that we haven't changed the plugin code yet. Let's go back to our plugin code. Yes, so if we go to our greetings.dart, we wrote only one function call here, but we have given two different implementation for iOS and Android. So from the Flutter main code, if we invoke this function, it will, according to the platform, it will go to the respective platform and give us the value. Maybe to make it more obvious, what we can do is, let's change it to welcome Android user, and for iOS welcome. Cool, now we can know the difference. Now let's use it in our example code. You can see how it is being used, the platform state and all, how it is being picked up. We are going to write another function here. Here in the example project, I just created another function called init greeting state. I just created a string greetings message, and we'll be getting the greetings message from the platform plugin greetings.default greeting, which will call our get default greeting function. So this is our example project, and we are trying to use the plugin over here. And if we cannot get, we will just display fail to get greetings. and in the set state we will update the greetings message so that the build function will be called, and we are just displaying a center with a text widget showing the greetings message. So that's all how we are going to call. So we'll be doing an async call to our platform channel, and let's try to run it in iPhone right now. Okay, so here you can see the message being displayed, welcome iOS user. Let's try the same in Android. Okay, here you can see welcome Android user. So our code works. Cool. Now let's see how we can pass some argument to the platform channels and do something on top of it. Okay, now I have implemented another function called greetings for user, where in which we pass a username which will be passed down to the platform channel, and we will get a specific greetings for that username. So here you have a new function called get default greetings for user, and we'll be passing the name. So this is how you pass the name as argument. So you need to put a comma and in curly braces send the arguments as a hash map. So name, and we will pass the name which is being passed down to the function. So let's go and see how it looks in the iOS and Android code. In Android we'll add another else if the function is get default greetings for user. The call has something called arguments. We will get the arguments as a hash map, and we'll first check if there is any value. If there is no value, we will return the default as welcome Android user, as I don't know who is the user. And next thing is we'll get the key, get the value for the key name, and if there is a value, we'll return the value, else we'll return unknown as the default value. So you will get a message welcome Android user with the name or unknown. That's all. So this will be returned back when it is being called. So this is how you process the arguments in Android. Let's see how it is done in iOS. So in iOS also we'll be adding another case called get default greetings for user. We'll do a guard and check whether the arguments as well as the name is present. If it is not present, we'll just return welcome iOS user, and if it is present, we'll be returning welcome iOS user with the username. Yeah, that's all. So you can see like it's not that hard to implement these kind of things. It is quite simple, and you just don't need to use this class alone. If you want to have a model, you can create another Swift class here and use that in this code, and only in this place you return whatever thing that you want, the either dictionary, array, or whatever is a supported data type. So you are not bounded to just use your logic in this class alone or this file alone. So we have implemented the functions for both iOS and Android. Now let's go back to our example project and call that class. So we already have this init greeting state implemented. Let's change it to get greetings for user, and let's pass in a name as let's say David. That's all. Let's run the app and see what happens. Let's first try it on Android. Okay, now we can see welcome Android user David. So the value that we passed from the Flutter layer to the platform layer reached there. It is being processed and converted to another message and sent back to the Flutter layer. So that's how you pass in arguments. Let's try the same for iOS. Okay, Here also that works. Welcome iOS user David. So both our uh, functions are working fine. So let's recap. So what we have done, we have learned how to change the channel names, how to implement multiple functions, function without parameter and function with parameter, how to uh, collect the arguments or the parameters in iOS platform specific code as well as Android platform specific code, manipulate it and return it back. And if you have only implemented one platform specific code, let's say for example you have implemented only in Android, and if you try to make the call in iOS app, you will get a not implemented exception. So make sure once you implement this a plugin function, you implement the respective function in the API or the native API code also. That's all I have to say. It's not that hard. Okay, in order to publish your plugin into the market, you need to do some more things. First thing, you need to test your app properly on device, both iOS and Android. Make sure everything works properly, and if possible, write test cases. I haven't written here, yeah, but make sure if you have time, do that. Then open up the PubSpec YAML. Here you need to mention the name of the plugin, a short description between 80 to 160 characters, I think, the version number, author and email. Make sure you provide the email also. Repository, like make sure you have the repository created and it is accessible, else you are going to lose some rating when you upload the project. Then a home page if you have any. I think that's all in the PubSpec YAML. And in the README, you need to mention what this uh, plugin does, a possible sample usages, and all the documentation which you want other people to know. Then a license file, you can add MIT license or any other license specification if you want to add. Make sure you add it. Then the change log, which tells like what each version changes in each version, so you have to mention that. So these four files needs to be properly updated. After you do those steps, you need to hit this command, flutter publish dry run. Go to the root folder of your plugin project, not the example project, in the plugin project, and do a dry run. If everything is fine in the dry run, do the flutter publish. That's all, and your package will be published and you will get an email on that. And yeah, that's all. And some guidelines to making plugins, make, as I told before, like make sure you make plugins for those functionalities which are not already available in Flutter or as packages. And yeah, that's all. Try it out, it's not that hard. Thanks for watching. Bye.